right, so I'm Roy,
And I'm Colleen.
and we're going to talk about the end of seeking.
The end of seeking.
So it's a safe assumption, I think, that people who are watching this video are seeking, and I'm assuming something, not just the seeking.
Yeah, peace or happiness or
Yeah,
simplicity,
yeah.
connection to source.
So maybe it's important to figure out what you really are seeking. Like, ask yourself, because I think a lot of people are, if they really are honest and look at their path and where they are or where they've come from, is that they're kind of seeking the seeking. That they're kind of in a loop, a feedback loop of just, they're so identified with seeking is that they don't really want to find. They don't really want the seeking to stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think sometimes it can be a matter of conditioning if you've been on the path for a long time and
You start identifying with.
well, you
that.
assume that when you get there you're going to know what it is. You're going to know this ineffable quality that is hard to put into words. And then you'll know that you found it.
And I think there's actually validity in that, because I've got to that place, is that I have found that which I'm looking for. And along with that, or because of that, I'm done seeking.
Yeah.
So I'm at that wonderful place where I'm just done.
Yeah, I think, like, I went on seeking longer than I needed to, and there were, like, an internal kind of knowing, like I kept hearing, like, stop, you're done. But somehow, so I came up kind of through the pragmatic Dharma movement, and there's a lot of teachers in that movement that are really happy to tell people, no, you're not done, no, you can't be done, no, not you. And really, they were probably wrong. I think, like, yeah, so I was done, but it took a while to realize that, to settle into doing nothing. Like, I kept hearing, just do nothing, just be still, just stop, everything just stop. And so as you're seeking, yeah, there's a lot of doing in seeking.
So there's the realization of it, like the actualization of it,
Yeah.
right? And it seems to be almost the polar opposite of the seeking. Like, anyone that's been on the spiritual path for any amount of time has read, I'm sure, or heard, the teachings need to be transcended.
Yeah,
But yet, somehow, like, I've read spiritual books, and a lot of them I describe now as fluff.
Yeah.
So you're reading this book, and it says a lot of stuff that I found myself agreeing with.
Okay, but you're pretty hardcore. Were you always hardcore? Because you just called it fluff. But were you always, like, if you ever read his writing, like, he's really hardcore, like, just, like, you're writing it's almost designed to just, like, slam somebody against the wall and just crack them open.
Well, you've got, yeah, like,
like, bam, you're there.
well, sometimes
it's really refreshing because it's not fluff. But so it makes me wonder.
So when I look back now, I can understand what was going on.
Yeah.
But so I'm sure that everyone that's been on the journey and read, whether it's a non-dual book or whatever, some type of spiritual labeled, you find it in the spirituality section of the bookstore, so it's got to be spiritual. So you're reading this book, and you find yourself agreeing with just about everything that's being said.
Yeah.
and you're feeling like nice about it and maybe lovey-dovey and all that stuff. And then at the end of the book, even though you found yourself agreeing with everything, maybe not quite getting it, like not just like it's all just clunk fitting together, like, but maybe you were agreeing with it the whole way, and then at the end of the book you go, like there's still like, well, okay, now what do I actually do? Like,
Well, yeah, so like one book probably wasn't gonna do it.
well,
So,
okay, so what I'm saying is that people who are watching this video, maybe the very fact that you are watching this video is proof
they might be ready to be done.
that you might be ready
You might
to
be there. You
you
might be like
this
ready
might
to
be,
just
yeah,
stop.
just stop.
Just be
So,
done.
so finding is not necessarily the end of seeking, because we've all found, like I've had many revelations, many epiphanies, many findings of truth, but that's kind of like a relative truth. So finding is not the end of seeking. The end of seeking is to stop seeking.
Well, so there's a surrender.
There's a
an
surrender.
element of surrender. So for me, when I finally like listen, like okay, I just need to surrender. Then there was some force far greater than this body or this mind that just pulled me into stillness, like being pulled into a deep, deep well.
Yeah.
And I just stayed there for a long time. I mean, like, I could still function, I could still make dinner for my kids, but when I wasn't needed to be in this human role, I could be standing in my kitchen and just be in total stillness. Like it was choiceless. So did you experience that?
Yeah. And I continue to experience it daily. And you'll find, I'm pretty sure that there was, you weren't seeking.
No, there was no
No,
seeking.
you weren't reading something when you were in that
completely-
space, or you weren't
No.
watching some type of video on YouTube.
And I still am in that space, but it's not as, it's not as, like, it doesn't have the same magnetic quality that it initially had. And so maybe, I don't know. But I'm still, like, stillness, I would say, is still the preferred, it's what I prefer,
Mhm.
yeah. But I still work full-time, and I'm a mom, and I do the hockey thing, and all of that. But when I'm not needed to be in whatever the role is, I just sit in stillness most of the time.
Yeah, so you would say that your seeking is done. You've
I-
found what you've
yeah,
been looking for.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you're watching this and this sounds like kind of what you want, so ask yourself, what am I looking for? And if the answer comes up, even if it's not a mental thing, but if it's like stillness and peace and perfect contentment and absolute happiness, then if that's truly what you want, then you need to just realize that that is who you are. Like the core of your being, who you are, the self, is all of those qualities. It is the stillness. You are the stillness, you are the happiness, you are the contentment.
You are the source. You just have a direct experience of source.
Right. So, in order to do that, you have to drop the seeking and find source.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? How do we find?
Well,
so if we drop the seeking,
So, okay, so this is a great book, and it's Gems from Bhagavan. So he has this writing in here about mind, and he's just talking about all the different tools that we as meditators on the spiritual path use. And he talks about, using control of the breath, using mantras, using affirmations and negations, and using self-inquiry. And so all of these things. So for me, there was a deep intuition that just said, stop doing this, you're there, like stop. And it was probably like 9 months before I really did stop. And part of it was just because I was going through a divorce at the same time. And so there's, like, if you get pulled into the divorce, like the whole legal system, you just have to, it's really hard to stop your life in the middle of something like that. So after that was behind me, then I was really able to just stop. And so it just really clicked.
So if mind is what is searching, so I'm just going to go ahead and say mind is the searching, like not just searching, calling it spirituality is really, it doesn't really matter what you call it. If your mind is focused on something, we'll call it external. If you're relying on something outside of self, in relation to self. So we have the self-awareness, don't we? We all know that we exist.
Right.
But, and I think that we're searching for the source of that self-awareness. We have this I know I exist. There's this underlying self-awareness that is wonderful, and we're searching for that source of this I. But I really feel that mind is just misinterpreting what the I is and thinks that the source is physical. So that's why mind is always, everything that we do, everything, if you watch your own actions and the actions of everyone around you, mind is always searching for something external, whether it's a screen, whether it's a book, whether it's music, whether it's like, you know. Like,
so I think that's the thing. When you're really connected, the stillness is so intense that there's no wanting anything.
Because
and our society, we're just conditioned to reject that. So what I found was I could sit with it for a long time, but there would still be some part of me that would say, okay, maybe this has gone on too long, like you could keep this up indefinitely, are you sure? And that was where your blog was really helpful, because your blog was like, if you're in the thought-free space, because it's a subtle, being done, it's a subtle thing, it's really subtle.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so mind always wants, one of the qualities of mind is it wants to describe things. It wants to put things into relative form. So any type of experience, it really wants to label that.
Well, not only that, but the ego might not be so easy to surrender. Like, so the ego's the thing that's going to come back, and maybe that's the same as mind.
Yeah, mind creates ego, a separate sense of self, a relative form of existence. Like, I know I exist because I'm thinking in relation to my thoughts. But once you just find your own existence, that's what all the searching is. So, but you'll get into that space and you'll just and I could sit here for the rest of the day pretty much.
Like, it's
but
bliss.
when you
It's bliss. It doesn't look like much on the outside.
It's bliss, but that's as far as you can go.
It's really calm and quiet and sweet.
It's also called Sat Chit Ananda, which is being, consciousness, bliss. That pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
But mind,
just being. That's all you have to do is just be.
It's your own being. That's what you're looking for.
And you're conscious.
But mind will want to come back online, because mind has bin churning for a long time, and I call it karmic momentum. So your mind has been going like a car. It's been running at a great rate of speed for quite a while. So when you just let off the gas and just go, it's nothing that can be described. Like it really is. It's the state of non-description. It's nothing that can be described, because it is pure experience. It's not an experience of something, it is experience itself, its existence itself, whatever you want to try to call it. So mind, because of its karmic momentum, will subtly start rippling again, and it'll get to the point where you'll even start questioning that experience. Like mind not being able to put it into some sort of box, some sort of description, it will want to describe it again. So that's where doubt starts coming in. And especially for, like, this is a really big obstacle. Because when you get there, it's just pure.
Especially if you come up through traditions that say, no, you're not done. No, that can't be you. No,
Well, that's another label. Like the mind, even these traditions that want to put it in
if you're
some.
hearing it externally, but internally there's something telling you you're done, I would say listen to self. Self knows. It
Yeah.
knows.
So
It just knows.
if you try to find out where you are, then that itself, the label itself, gives the appearance that you're not there.
So what I think people could try is just, if you're still doing practices, whatever your practices are, throw in just effortless being and just practice effortlessness and surrender.
So the enlightened masters, they really put it very simply. Like Nisargadatta Maharaj said, all I did was look at myself in silence. Ramana Maharshi says, be as you are. So it's really, but you really have to start getting to that place and then just really negating everything that mind comes up. Like everything that mind produces, you just watch it and don't hold on to it at all. Just let it go, and get to that place. You know what that place is. And it's mind is the discontentment. When you start feeling discontentment, watch very closely. It will be mind. You'll see the connection between.
So for me, I know I'm there because I can be thought-free for long periods of time.
Yeah.
And it's the preferred state. Not having to think is, that's.
Well, but and again, it's because you found what you're looking for. If mind is what is looking, then self is what it's looking for. And when it really finds that, even the mind just subsides because you found what you're looking for. I was looking for myself all along. So it's just, but mind wants, because of this momentum, it's easy to just call it momentum.
So when there's nothing to do and nowhere to go and there's no seeking. But sometimes people get caught in the seeking itself.
Well,
And I think that's what you're saying. It's so easy to be stuck in that habitual pattern. So
well, mind's very tricky. It'll say, well, let's grab a spiritual book and start reading that, and that's my spiritual practice. But it's not. It's mind. It's mind just searching for another relative source. I know I exist because I'm reading these words. It really doesn't matter. Like the content of the words doesn't matter to the mind. As long as mind is churning, we want to think that I'm reading something very special, and that it will, like through the reading of this, I will all of a sudden just snap and become enlightened.
So you have a book. So
I have a couple books.
So what about your own books?
Okay, so I wrote my first book like 12 years ago, and it was kind of about my first steps into the theory of
And
it.
what is the title of that one?
Conversations with Myself. So it might be a good place to start, but if you're along the path, I'm just being honest, you might not need to even read that book. If you're just starting out on the path, maybe it might help. But the manuscript that I have now, it's all about the final step. It's all about, so it's not a lot of writing, a lot of,
So that's what really helped me realize I was there, though. I mean, it helps. Yeah.
good, I'm glad, because like I said before, a lot of the writing, it really, if you really look at it, it really is just engaging mind. Like whether you want to call it non-dual writing or spiritual writing, but it's text, it's words that just seem to be engaging mind, and mind is satiated when it's reading this nice fluff. But it's just more engagement of mind.
Your writing isn't very fluffy.
But that's what I'm.
Pretty hardcore,
So
and it's just pretty cut and dry.
So my new manuscript is very just. It brings you back to yourself. It's not words that lead to words. It's words that are vertical rather than horizontal.
Encourage you just to test being done.
Yeah.
To stop seeking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it, right?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. So you have a website, don't you?
Well, the book is called The One Step Path, and you can download it or read it at my website called One Step Path. And if you feel that, if you ask yourself that question, what do I want? Do I want peace, contentment, absolute happiness?
Do you think you're done? Are you ready to just...
Are you done? Are you
done
ready?
with seeking?
Are you ready to be done with seeking? Then
Honor that.
yeah.
Just be done.